This report just opened a very interesting door for the New York Rangers as we get multiple reports with writers linking the Rangers to a key goal scorer from the Montreal Canadiens, all the way to a report coming out linking them to a former Rangers player coming off a 20-goal season. We're going to break down all these reports, how it can happen, where they fit in the lineup, and so much more later on this episode. Before we get into that, we're trying to reach a goal of 18,000 subscribers. If just 16 of you go down, hit the subscribe button, it would mean the world to us, and we'll keep you up to date with all around the league, from rumors, reports, trades from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast of the New York Rangers. If you want to stay up to date on the league, there is no better place to be. But with that, Darius, let's just hop straight into it, where we do know there's a bit of a situation going on with Jack Roslovic. We've seen multiple teams, the Canucks, the Leafs, everyone's interested. We're getting reports now coming out that they're kind of cooling off around the league on Jack Roslovic, and that's where we get a report from Roger Hicks, NHL insider. Now listen, take this with a grain of salt. There is one more report on this as well, but they said the Rangers are nearing a reunion with current UFA Jack Roslovic. Still negotiating, and contract should be on cheaper end if both sides agree. Now it continues in where we do get another one from benches, and they go on to say that if the Rangers are really interested, Jack Roslovic will be right for them now. Now, going into Jack Roslovic, a former New York Rangers player coming off a 20-goal season just last year with Carolina, he is kind of strayed away from a lot of teams in free agency. But Darius, do you think there's a world where there's a reunion in New York?
There definitely can be. And I think that he would fit into, obviously, the Rangers' style of play, because they're going to be changing their style of play. And we're going to get into that a little bit in this video as well, with Mike Sullivan coming in. So I think that he would look good on the right wing. I would assume that Mika Zibanejad is going to play the right wing this year, because he just cannot play center anymore. So as you see here, he might be playing the right wing. Maybe Lafreniere moves somewhere else if Roslovic comes in. He scored 20 goals last season, and he was playing in a reduced role. So I think that it could be a very interesting option for the Rangers. The only thing is the Rangers have to move some money out, and that's what we're going to get to in this video as well, because they have no room to sign a guy like Roslovic. They can't even sign anybody to a minimum contract, a league minimum contract right now with their salary cap space. And if you want to sign Roslovic, if he's coming back to New York, sounds like he would like to play in either New York or even Toronto at this point. They're still in the mix, it seems. And he hasn't signed yet, but it looks like he's looking for just north of $3 million. But if he does sign with the Rangers, maybe there's a bit of a haircut there, but still, it's not a league minimum contract, so they have to move some money out. So could make a lot of sense for the Rangers, familiar with the team, all of those things. Of course, it's going to be a different system and mentality coming into this year, so that could be enticing and a fresh start as well for him. So could be interesting, could be a good fit, but ultimately, I do think there is some smoke in Toronto right now, so we'll see what ends up happening with Jack Roslovic.
And I think the biggest thing is, looking around the league, a lot of teams don't have the cap space to really throw a lot of money at any guys remaining. I mean, Matt Grzelcyk's a guy, Jack Roslovic. They're waiting for a team to either make a move. We know there's a stalemate in the league at the moment, so maybe Chris Drury is just working his way to clear up cap space to bring in the 20-goal scorer last season. Listen, not having the best playoff with the Carolina Hurricanes. We've seen him in the second line, down to the fourth, scratched, back to the second and scratched again. But there is a world where Jack Roslovic fits this Mike Sullivan mold better than he did with Rob Brendamore. He could come in. But Rangers fans, if Jack Roslovic, and listen, as I said, take this report with a grain of salt, but with things starting to intensify around the league, it seems like teams are really starting to lean in on PTOs and the remaining free agents. Where would you think you'd fit in this lineup? Who would you move out to bring him in? Let us know down in the comments. But listen, there goes into even more. We know the Rangers want to continue to get better. They want to get back in the playoffs. They want to win a Stanley Cup. And we did get a report coming from Heavy Sports, and this was a writer going in and putting a trade pitch for them to add a former 40-goal scorer. And that goes straight into Patrik Laine. Now, Darius, with this, listen, Laine is kind of in a weird part of his career. We've seen him score 20 goals with the Montreal Canadiens last year. He went through a lot of battles with injuries, but do you think there's a world, and looking at this trade that they did pitch, the Rangers would consider this?
Yeah, I think if you're the Rangers, this actually makes a ton of sense, and I'll get into it in a second. I don't think this makes too much sense for the Montreal Canadiens, at least stylistically, with what they already have on the team. And obviously, they just acquired a guy like Zach Bolduc from the St. Louis Blues as well. So getting Brendan Othman doesn't make too much sense, and Carson Soucy too. So we'll get into that. But for the Rangers side of things, I mean, if you can get Patrik Laine, a guy that, yes, dealt with some injury problems, but still put up 20 goals, he's automatic on the power play. The Rangers are at their best when their special teams are at their best. Their PK was actually really good, 11th in the league last year. Power play was awful, 28th in the league. If you add a guy who was a power play specialist there, that could make a lot of sense. Mika Zibanejad, he needs a different role in the power play too, so he won't be taking that one-timer. Patrik Laine could make a lot of sense on this team. Now, the salary cap, of course, you're going to have to retain a ton of salary to make this work. So you have to consider that, and the fact that, you know, he is only signed for this year, so you could lose him to free agency, all things to consider. But again, from the New York Rangers side of things, Brendan Othman, he's a great prospect. I think that he definitely can play in the NHL this year. I don't know if he's going to start in the NHL. We'll see what happens in training camp. There's a lot of jobs up for grabs with the Rangers, and a lot of young players that are looking to make that leap. As you can see there, Brett Berard, I mean, he's a great young player. He'll probably make the team. They just signed Taylor Radish to bolster the depth. That fourth line is solidified at this point. They finally have an identity with that fourth line. So a lot of moving parts. I don't know if Brendan Othman has a spot on this team. He is teetering between the AHL and the NHL. He had a great AHL season. So for any Montreal Canadiens fans watching this, you're getting a great player that can play in the NHL at the NHL level and create a lot of scoring chances. At one point, he was playing with the Breadman Panarin on the first line last season as well. So that'd be great. Carson Soucy doesn't make much sense. I don't understand why he was acquired at last year's deadline. He makes a lot of money for what he brings to a lineup. And everything that he's good at, all his strengths, he did not bring to the New York Rangers lineup. So if they can offload that contract, that makes a lot of sense. But for the Montreal Canadiens acquiring him, I don't know where he fits in on that left side, I have to be honest. But for the Rangers, makes a lot of sense to offload that. You got a guy who can play on the power play. You're giving up a prospect that at this point isn't necessarily a prospect. He's a little bit older and, you know, is teetering still between the AHL and the NHL. And you have a lot of younger guys that are younger than him looking to make that leap and probably will ahead of him. So I don't think it's that much of a loss. So personally, I think I would do this if I was the Rangers because it fills a need for them. And of course, you get a draft pick out of it.
And I mean, I think the biggest thing is, like you said, the Rangers want to increase and get better on the power play. Adding Patrik Laine into this is exactly what it would do. As you said, 20 goals last year in 52 games, most of these coming on 5-on-4 on the power play. He was dominant in his role, playing as a goal scorer, which Laine has always been. Listen, his health issue was something kind of pushed that to the side, but he's always been a consistent 20 goal scorer when getting into the games. Once touted as coming in as probably going to be the next great goal scorer, he has yet to hit that. But with this Rangers lineup, I think there's a lot of value adding him maybe to that third line, adding him in the top six if you want to stretch him out. Maybe Zibanejad drops in the lineup. But I mean, Rangers fans, what is your thoughts on this? What is your thoughts on these reports? As I said, take the first one with a grain of salt, but with multiple people kind of leaning into the fact that Roslovic could be looking at a reunion. Would you rather bring him in or make a trade for someone like Patrik Laine? Let us know down in the comments. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friend. We'll be back in another episode, so keep your eye out for that. But I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.